Welcome to the Global discussion with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name's Simon Hodgkins, and I'm really delighted to be joined by Graciela Moore. Graciela, you're very welcome to the podcast. Let's begin by asking you to introduce yourself and tell our international audience a little bit about your journey and all the wonderful things you're involved in. So over to you, Graciela.
Oh, Simon, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I'm so excited to be here. Been looking forward to this forever. So first of all, thank you so much for last year and calling me one of the top 50 social audio voices of 2022. It was a true honor, and it helped me continue moving forward. So thank you for the little boost of confidence, right? It was definitely very appreciated. And so my name is Graciela Moore. I am from Puerto Rico, residing in Florida. And I have been in a journey business-wise of sales and marketing and owning my own endeavor since I was 19, working since I was 13. So this business mindset has been going on for a while. And then when I got furloughed, like a lot of people during the pandemic, from corporate real estate, I decided to kind of elevate that coaching business in the field of real estate with the lens of uprooting your family across the country. There's a lot of coaching involved in that and hand holding. And so when I was confronted with the idea of what do I do for the rest of my life if I don't go back to that, I pondered going back to school, and for financial reasons decided not to just go dive deep into a master's degree in psychology and do the next best thing, which at the time, and I think still is, a certification in life coaching by the International Coaching Federation. And so I felt like my 8 years, even almost 20 years in sales and marketing kind of leveled up when I started helping people to really thrive in those areas by putting their life together, their emotional life together. Like, to me, what really matters, because I'm such an empath, of course. I just want you to be okay. And so I became a life coach in 2021. And one of my challenges was to launch my business the next day. And so I never even thought of myself as ambitious until I joined the certification by Lumia Coaching, and I'm doing all these exercises and I'm like, yes, give me all the deadlines, give me all of it. And found this passion, everything, as I did the work on myself with my coach and my therapist, everything from my life leading up to this point kind of made sense. My obsession with the English language and wanting to move to the States and not being able to do it for 21 days. Waiting for this interview was nothing, because one of the reasons why I launched my business with the Hope series is because I needed to really embrace the fact that I've been made to wait. That was the victim mentality. I was made to wait for everything I ever got in life. And then I realized I've been moving little steps along the way to get me to where I am at. And so this is what this post from this morning was about, right? How every step I've used it to continue to help people and to continue to propel me forward. So your nomination last year gave me that boost of confidence that I obviously needed it, or it wouldn't have happened. And I'm just very grateful to finally land on Twitter and meet amazing people like yourself. I avoided it for a decade because I obviously wasn't emotionally ready for the drama that Twitter just is. And once I decided, okay, I'm going to help people and I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to go to Twitter. And that was last year. And it's been wonderful ever since.
Well, that's incredible, and thank you so much, Graciela, for sharing that with us. Because I'm going to touch on a couple of points there, which I really like, and also ask you a couple of quick questions, if I can, about what you've said there. Obviously, when people were getting furloughed, it was a huge, dramatic change in a relatively short period of time. Something that people maybe hadn't even experienced in their lifetime. How fast the world changed, how fast things got impacted, how fast things closed down.
Mhm.
And coming from real estate, of course, a lot of people were not going into the office anymore. They weren't going to the same social venues anymore. Offices, housing, everything seemed to get put on hold. And outside of the travel industry, where people just stopped traveling because planes were pretty much grounded and countries were pretty much closing their borders, real estate was kind of really challenged. And a lot of people, regardless of their industry, found themselves being furloughed and then having to move maybe town or city or change their lifestyle or figure out what are they going to do next. And when that happened to you, you sort of really wanted to get into this life coaching maybe a little bit more. And I know that you're a certified life coach now. But what do you think was it that made you go into that direction? Why that initially, Graciela?
It was really about the psychology. So once I figure out that there's a more cost-effective way to learn about positive psychology and to use it as a tool instead of going to get a degree in psychology. Do I call it a shortcut? Of course, an actual psychology graduate would probably scoff at me right now for saying that, but I didn't have all the time in the world. I also didn't want to get involved financially with another, student endeavor in this country. And so Lumia, or any certification that is accredited by the ICF, uses positive psychology as the basis for all of the coaching. And I just love how it transformed my own relationship with my psychology, and then how I get people to do the same.
Yeah, I really like that. One of the guests on this show, the episode is published at the moment, is a gentleman called Steve Pugh, and he runs an organization called the Roadmap MBA. And he addresses one of the challenges that you've put up, because normally at the time of flux or change or dramatic change in a commercial environment or a health environment, the last thing you want to do is commit funds. And he's also on a mission to provide an MBA alternative to 5 billion people on the planet. He doesn't do small goals, Steve. He's a chartered engineer by background. But one of the real passions that he has is bringing education to people that really are not fortunate enough to have gone through a formal education, because particularly in most of the developed world, it's very expensive, this type of education. And I think children coming through today, they're learning very different, and the tools and the experience that they require and the jobs that they will be doing haven't even been invented yet. It's changing that rapidly. So I love your idea about, going down this life coaching route, because not only does it sort of fulfill your direction that you want to go in, but you're also now able to help other people. So when it comes to the work that you do with the life coaching, are you sort of focused on any particular area, or is it quite broad?
So it can be both. I personally feel like a good life coach at the end of the day will be able to ask the pertinent questions in any conversation, regardless of who is there. It's almost like harm none. Well, if I'm in a tough situation, maybe I act like a doctor for the good of all and I intervene. That's your personal choice and boundary. But it's obviously recommended for you to niche down. And I say this in quotations because we're kind of expected to niche down right away. And it took me a year to really target highly sensitive empaths. It took me a year of working with my own psychology to understand who I am as a highly sensitive empath, to then transform it into a service that can help others. And one of the main questions that helped me niche down was, what do I like advocating for? Because if my advocacy is directly correlated to my self-advocacy, so I'm a highly sensitive survivor of toxic abuse like most empaths, and my child is also a highly sensitive child, which is, of course, a major source of energy for me to continue moving forward, right? Because I advocate for him. He's only 3. And so I launched my business with the Hope series, which was my very first coaching experience, was with 40 people in the room, and it was amazing. And I did that cohort, and I've done it several times, and I do it one-on-one as well. And part of the reason why I launched my business with something about hope, what the heck is she talking about, is because I didn't want to niche down. I wanted to help everyone. Oh, I have so much love to give, and I just want the world to heal. And I launched my business like that. And it took me a year to say 20 to 30% of the population are highly sensitive empaths who don't even know what those 4 words are. So I'm going to talk about this because this is who I also am. And because I've been managed to solve these things for myself. Now, whatever I haven't solved for myself, I'm in constant research mode. It's a bit exhausting, but still, because there's so much to learn. So, thus the book club was created, because without the accountability of my audience connecting with me in the book club, who knows if I'll get to read those books, but it helps me to create the content that I create.
Well, I love that, Graciela, and thanks for sharing that little bit of insight with us, because I was talking to somebody only very recently about this, that there's the kind of learning that you do before you embark on a new direction or a new phase of life. And then there's the learning that you get while you're actually in motion. And they're 2 very different things, I think. And often the things that you learn while you're in motion, you could never have learned unless you actually took that first step, unless you actually started that journey. And maybe it's a bit like the planting of the seeds and harvesting them a little bit later on. As a farmer or somebody that works the land, you kind of get used to what works, what crops grow best where, what time of year to plant them, etc., etc. And I think with life, there's a little bit about that. When you're in a journey, the experiences that you are faced with change, I think, quite dramatically to just the theory, in inverted commas, if that makes sense. And you referenced as well a couple of other things that I want to talk about. And one is this notion of little things moving you forward, whereas at the time it can feel a little bit frustrating. You and I have been trying to sync up here for quite a while, schedule wise and everything else. And it's great that we're here today doing it, but sometimes it can be a little frustrating in lots of areas of life where you feel as though it's moving really, really slow. And it's only when you have the benefit of time and hindsight, when you look back and say, well, actually, at the time, I thought that was the wrong direction, or that wasn't moving quick enough, but it actually led me to something a little bit better. And it's funny how that works. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to maybe talk about both these areas, both the steps and the planting of seeds, but also you very kindly mentioned the social audio awards, which was something that we did a little while ago, because social audio during that time of change and upheaval and pivot and furlough and pandemics and lockdowns, it became really this global lifeline for people to be able to stay in touch with each other, and it built real communities. And I'd love to ask you a little bit about your thoughts on the communities and the friendships and knowledge sharing that's going on today in an audio or an online environment. So can I maybe ask you to unpack both of those areas a little bit for our audience, Graciela?
Yes. Well, which one do you want me to unpack first? Sowing the seeds or social audio?
Well, let's talk with social audio, because you won an award for that. And I want you to cover some of that, because you're very active in the space, right?
Yes. I was nominated and shortlisted, but unfortunately I didn't win. But still, it was a win just to be nominated. There you go. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Social audio was a lifeline for me as well. And it really showed up for me in the shape of wisdom as a top mentor, literally 2 days after I prayed before going to sleep about, do I start a podcast? How do you want me to share this message? What the heck do you want me to talk about? Like, this little idea in my head didn't come from me. So how am I going to, go about it? And all I had was Instagram. At the time. I've had it for, since 2010. So wisdom showed up and I started social audio with that. And then months later, I realized Twitter has this option too. The idea of me creating a community was just a result of me joining Twitter, social audio Twitter spaces and getting to know all these people from everywhere. and getting to know other communities, right? Like the artists on Twitter, and just so many epic groups that all speak the same language and all gather together from different parts of the world. And so it's been a gift, honestly.
When it comes to social audio, you're very active in that space and you build real relationships, and people get very open and honest and share both challenges and potential solutions and help each other. And there's a real feeling of community there, even though some people in the online environment have never met each other in real life and may not. And I'm just interested in your perspective on how important that community has been and continues to be for people worldwide.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. And obviously, I can only speak for Empaths Unite community, which is the one we launched in September. And I say we, even though I'm the only moderator, because it's all of us. And I've been trying to get people to post more within it. But the feedback that I've received is lovely, because it's a question, again, of people who don't know why they feel the way they feel, or who identify as empath but don't know about the highly sensitive thing, or how connected to spirit you can really be as a highly sensitive person. Once they realize all of these things, they're like, oh, this is my space. This is my tribe. I finally found my clan, my group of people, my Hope Enthusiast Club, which is what I call it, right? Or the Empaths Unite community. Like, you're a member, great. And so it's been lovely, because we've created a safe space where if you're going to talk about psychic development, you're not judged. This is part of what being highly sensitive has to do. Or the fact that you're a guy who feels things deeply or too much, where in another space, that kind of conversation may not be appreciated. But if you're a man and you're highly sensitive, you might just have to express your feelings as a child, right? With very loud outbursts and crying. And it's a shame that you were told that boys don't cry. And maybe you're just a highly sensitive child, right? So it's been beautiful to launch this community. And what originally was just the Hope Enthusiast Club newsletter became the Empaths Unite community space, because it's all me. So it's all us. And that's how we hang out there. And it's been lovely.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And of course, that's why from the Social Audio Awards perspective, you were shortlisted, right? Because you have built a community there. There are people sharing things there. And just some people may not be as self-aware in terms of their situation. Some people can, struggle when it comes to closeness and intimacy. They can overwhelm them to some degree. Some people would have a really sharp sense of intuition. That would be another thing. And others would take comfort from nature. And then others would struggle in maybe crowded places, and you're back to feeling overwhelmed, So when it comes to building that community, it seemed as though a real strong, big cohort of people came together to share really meaningful information there.
Yes, and we see each other every Friday. And sometimes we have lots of people who haven't joined us for a few weeks join us again, and they feel right at home, like nothing, like they didn't take a break. And of course, I moderate the space, and my co-host Adam Coates, we moderate the space in a specific way. We have a timeline, we have, a deadline for giving out microphones, nobody speaks over one another, different rules like that. No name calling, right? Like this is a safe space. We're all sitting in a circle looking at each other, and the incense is burning, and we want to be zen in here. And the energy, they feel it. And of course, the topics, other spaces do it differently, but I like my community to vote for the topics that they want me to dissect along with them. So it's always a panel discussion. Unless I am invited into a space to be interviewed, my spaces are always a panel discussion, right? The ones that I host. I want to hear from everyone else. Like, I work very hard on my own. When I meet with you all, I want it to be a conversation, like we're at a round table or something like that.
Very
And
good.
so, yeah, it's been lovely. And we started doing it around June, so we're close to the year. Yay.
Yeah, great. And what about the other topic then that we touched on, which is this, the planting of seeds and the moving things forward, whereas at the time it can feel maybe so slow or frustrating in many areas of our lives. But what are your thoughts on that when it comes to planting the seeds and then reaping the rewards maybe a little bit down the road? Because it doesn't come easy to a lot of people.
Right. So I'll flip it and start with the feeling slow and not motivation. That could be so many things, right? And of course, depression could be one of them. So I like to always clarify that I'm not a licensed psychologist or therapist. But your lack of motivation could also be a lack of vitamins. So where are you on that? Maybe you need to get your blood sample, right? And speak with your doctor. But by all means, this is not medical advice. The point is that it could also be an astrology thing. And I've been obsessed with astrology forever. And this is part of why I love the Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace show that then turned into the book that now we're all following together. And the book becomes the greatest example of those seeds that you plant and then you sow, because I took 3 years worth of how I handle my agenda, the one that I would get at the store every Christmas, which is very strategic. And then I added the new moon and full moon journaling I've been doing since I was like 20 something. And then I added something which is, I love to paint and play with paint and brushes. And I put it all together in a book that I knew was going to launch at a specific date, but we were not going to start using for like a month and a half. So notice how all of these steps in my life have led to us having the book in our hand. And then the other example of the planting the seeds is for every new moon, the new moon is about planting seeds. So every new moon, you get questions that you get to journal and then you paint over them. And this is what I've been doing forever. Like that's what that is. And I have planted seeds of me interviewing people that have joined me on my show. And that's been super cool. And seeds of other things like me publishing my poetry book or publishing the next one that's coming out, so on and so forth. So it's been wonderful. And yeah, here's the seed like sprouted and flowered in front of us.
It's wonderful. It's great to see that it materializing into a real tangible asset that people have in their hands and use it. And, congratulations on everything that you're doing, because, this has all been, it's been put together, it's manifested, it's now out there in real life, and it's really affecting people, and you're growing a community that continues to grow. So continued success in all that area, Graciela. But I do want to move on a little bit. I want to ask you a couple of other questions if I can, while we've got some time together today. I want to ask you about your own learning style. Now, I know that you're writing books and you're picking up the paintbrushes and you're doing a lot of creative things. But when it comes to learning new information, when it comes to onboarding things, do you like audiobooks? Do you pick up a physical book? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you watching YouTube videos? Or do you prefer just to meet and talk with people? How does the learning style work for you?
So I'm kind of old school and I love school. So I would prefer to be able to stay put on a table with my notebook and my highlighters and my arrows and my Venn diagrams. But most of my learning, I do it on like when we're all moving around the house. And so I'll find myself re-listening to podcasts and re-listening to YouTubes because I don't have a way to take notes while I'm walking around and listening. And this is also what I love about the book club, because being there to provide that service to the many people that listen and tune in sets me in a time and place where I can grab the book and use the highlighter and take notes and check for understanding and check for, we have that dialogue. Who wants to come up and dissect what I just read? And it's been wonderful. We have read 10 books so far, one of them by one of your guests, actually, who will be joining me too, Simon Alexander Ong. That's the book we're on right now, Energize. And it's been lovely to have that community as well, where I get to interview the authors. But to cut it short, I like highlighters. I like stickers. I like the paper in front of me. I don't have a Kindle account. There you go.
Well, do you know what? I think I'm with you on that. I'm a bit of a sucker for the stationery and the old school ways. And for all the tools that we have today, there's something quite magical about picking up a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. There is something still very, very useful in that. And Simon Alexander Ong, that you mentioned, himself as a thought leader and a coach and somebody that's very much into helping people. His book Energize was published by Penguin Random House, and he's done exceptionally well. I was teasing him recently because every event I was taking part in or listening to or going to, he seemed to be the keynote speaker at it, and he's been picked up by the biggest media in the world, and he's doing really, really well. So it's great to see that Simon will be part of your activities as well shortly. So that's great. Another question I've got for you, Graciela, is throughout your life, throughout your journey, there must be people that have inspired you or given you a helping hand, or people that you look up to or have motivated you. And if you don't want to mention anybody in particular, or if it's more of a personality or a character trait that you're more attracted to, but when I ask you that question, are there any people or personalities that spring to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm forever grateful for my father, right? I think I wrote about, we wrote together in that article from the magazine last year. He was the highly sensitive empath musician in the family. And he also gave his life up in corporate. Like, he passed away in his cubicle. And so he inspired me to kind of really not go back to that, and to all of the negativity that I was kind of putting myself through emotionally, because I wanted to contribute financially or whatever, right? Like, we went from 2-income household to just one, and entrepreneurship, which of course we know it's not like, 100% all the time. And so my dad, and in Twitter per se, because I have so many others, like my coach Sally that I see weekly, and my therapist, they know who they are. But in Twitter, there's like a handful of people that really talk me off the ledge when all heck breaks loose in Twitter, and I kind of ponder why I'm there after avoiding it for so long. And those are people like, Donika Gunter or Ruth L. Snyder or Christy Mickelson, right? These are, or Tanya, right? Oh my gosh, Tanya is amazing with her Web3 development. And I believe she won an award last year for you. So I hope you get to speak with her soon. These are the women that inspire me to continue doing what I'm doing and articulating things in the way that I do. And of course, all of the authors that have actually met with me, who have been a few, I'm so grateful for them to trust me to share their book and to speak with them on behalf of the community. Because sometimes people don't come up to ask questions, and I'm like, well, it's just you and me. Let's do this. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. What? I just cannot wait.
Yeah, I know all of those individuals. They're great people. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
What about advice, Graciela? Is there any advice that you've picked up along the way that you really hold on to because you hold it dear as really important advice? Or is there advice that you share with others that you'd like to share with our community here today?
Yeah, I can do both. I mean, the one advice that I love the most was that I could do anything. And sometimes when I have an idea up here, and I'm still kind of figuring out how to bring the as above to the so below and materialize that idea, I remember my dad telling me, you can do anything. Okay, great. So let's do it, right? Let's make it happen. How do I do it? And so it's the same thing for everyone. It's the same advice, because depending on where people are, like some of the steps I was in, like, I don't think I can leave this relationship, even though I feel like it's killing me inside. Yes, you can. You can do anything. If I've done it, you can do it, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what about over the next 6, 9, 12 months? You mentioned this upwards and down roller coaster of the entrepreneurial world. But over the next 6, 9, 12 months, or maybe even longer, what seeds are you planting now for the future, or what are you hoping to achieve over the next year or so? How does that work
Mhm.
for you?
Um, so I'm very specific with my plans and very strategic. This is what a lot of people have discovered once they got my book, and how it like asks you to time block your week and to really pay attention to how you're moving your needle along. Because that's how I do it. Graciela, how do you do everything? Right here. Um, I am collaborating with Tanya to launch my next poetry book in the metaverse on a pre-sale, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to do a giveaway. And it's the building that she created, and she wants me to do my event there. And it's so much fun that I just cannot wait, right? And I've been working on my Hope book for a while, so that's in the works. And I'm hoping to do a lot of it by August, because once August hits, I'm going to start working on the Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace 2024 agenda that will be available on Black Friday, Cyber Monday at the latest of this year. And so that puts me all the way until the last quarter. And aside from my coaching, at least when it comes to creating, that's what's in the works. And of course, I love my clients and I harass them when I miss them. And I want to help more people, right? Obviously, that's the goal.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a wonderful year ahead. Lots of great things happening. I suppose the last thing as we come almost to the end of our time together, Graciela, today, is there any other area that I haven't mentioned, or is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? And also, and importantly, if people want to get hold of the book, find out about the book club, get in contact with you about the coaching, find out more about what you're doing online in a social audio capacity, where do you want to send people to? Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
That's a great question. And the one answer is to subscribe to the newsletter. You go to somcoaching.com and scroll to where it says join now, or it's right there in the front. And it goes out twice a month, but it really has the links to everything. My agenda of the weekly things like the book club or the Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace is there, or the spaces. Everything is in an agenda. Do we call it that? A schedule. There you go. A blog and all the links to join me everywhere. It's all in the newsletter. And actually, I don't know when this is coming out, but it goes out the 1st and the 15th of every month. So as of today, you and I sitting here, it'll be out in 2 days. And then, oh, what was the previous question? Oh, something that, is it like a top secret that you don't know about me, maybe? That the people don't know? A lot of people on Twitter know, but I don't know if you know.
Well, I'd love to know any secrets for sure, but anything that you'd like to maybe
I don't have
leave
a lot
our
of
audience with.
secrets.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you know that I sing. Did you know that I sing, Simon?
Well, I'd heard a rumor, but tell us more.
Heard a rumor. Oh my goodness. So like I told you, my dad was a musician. We grew up on stage. We play several instruments. But when I moved to Orlando, I knew that I wanted to perform somehow, because it's Orlando, it's Disney. People sing, right? Don't people just wake up and sing with the birds at the window? La, 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 it's a beautiful day in Florida. I guess that's kind of what I imagined. And as soon as I got here, somebody heard me singing in the real estate office, and they said, "Are you an alto?" "Yes." "Well, I sing with the caroling company." I had no idea what caroling company was. "Would you like to audition?" I'm like, "Sure." There it is. Thank you, Spirit. There's my answer. And so I became a caroler, those people that dress up in Victorian clothes and go carol at Neiman Marcus or Macy's or at your door. And I did that for about 7 years until last Christmas. I decided to step away from it, but I can come back at any time. And that's just a little tidbit about me. So I've sung in spaces. They made me sing Christmas songs last year. And yeah, I love to sing. I sing in my show all the time. It's like Moon Day.
That's wonderful. And sometimes on that social audio space where you get somebody who can sing or play an instrument or piano or violin, whatever.
So lovely.
That really, really great. Yeah, really, really great. So, well, look, I think that's nice. That brings us nicely to the end of the episode today. So thanks so much to Graciela for joining me on the global discussion. Thank you to everybody around the world who's watching or listening to this episode. Make sure that you reach out and get in touch with Graciela, sign up to the newsletter, and make sure that you like, follow, subscribe, do everything I need you to do to help support this podcast. And I hope that you'll join me back here for some more discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. So thank you, Graciela. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Simon.